I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing 7 Wonders Dice from Repost Productions. 7 Wonders Dice is the roll and write version of 7 Wonders, an incredibly successful game that was one of my first games in the hobby and has spawned multiple offshoots. 7 Wonders Duel is going to be the most popular. There's Lord of the Rings Duel, which was an offshoot of 7 Wonders Duel. There's been a lot of 7 Wonders things, expansions and all that, and 7 Wonders Dice is the newest version of that. This is a roll and write game which you're going to be shaking this dice box, and then every player is going to select a die from it to go ahead and mark something down on your sheet. You're going to do that until game end is triggered, and then you're going to score for a bunch of things. So let's kind of walk you through this and show you how the game plays. The general idea, like I said already, is you're going to be shaking this thing very vigorously within the closed box top. Inside over here, you have these ridges, so dice will fly all over the place, like you can see it right now, but if I go, then suddenly the dice are in different places over here, and now we have different costs for the various dice. Everyone can select the same dice, so all players can, for example, buy this blue die. But each player is going to have different reasons they want different dice, especially as their board develops. For this die over here, let's say I'm going to start off, I like science, going on science is always fun, so I'm going to take this green die, I'm going to pay 0 coins for it. We start the game with a bunch of coins. If I spend one, I would cross it off, but I'm not spending one, I'm simply taking that green die and spending 0. Over here, I'm going to go ahead and mark off this spot over here, but this over here is a 2 resource space. You see that 2 over here? That 2 means I need 2 resources to be able to get that die, and unfortunately, because it's the start of the game, I don't actually have any resources yet. So I can compensate for that by paying coins. Coins can be used to buy the actual dice, but they can also be used to pay the difference between the resources you have and the dice cost, in this case 2. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this off over here, and this ability over here is going to allow me to take future green dice, paying 0 for those dice. So even though I have to pay 2 of my precious limited coins to get that die, now going forward I can take the green die without paying extra coins for it. We'll put the box top back on, and I'll slowly show you all the various zones of the board. But that's going to be the green. Green gives you science. Go ahead and move that over there. Green gives you science and allows you to slowly move up the tracks. Now over here, there still aren't any resources. I have to make a decision. Do I want to pay more coins? In this case, I don't think I will. I'm going to pay a single coin down. That would be 2. Oh my gosh, this is a terrible start to the board over here because of all these costs over here. This fountain is only 1. I might just do the fountain. So I'm going to pay 1 coin, not for the die itself. I'm going to pay a single coin over here. I'm going to mark off this 1 die area. I'm going to do that. I'm paying the 1 coin for the fact that, again, I have no resources. There are no resources starting off in the 0 spot, which is not great for me, but I will get 3 points at the end of the game. So the green spot over here unlocks various abilities, and the middle column is points. The blue spot is straight up points. So you have to take the first one to that symbol. Because I took the fountain, I have to take the first one close to the fountain. On a future turn, I can go up and then up, and you're always working either up or working your way inwards, and the first person to complete blue is going to get an extra bonus 3 points. Dice selection number 3. Oh my gosh, this is going terribly. This is terribly, but I will take this over here. Even though it cost me 1, I will take that resources, so I'm going to pay 1 coin, and I'm going to take the brick, marking off that I now have brick going forward. So you'll be able to see how that works in a second. Let's go ahead and do this again. And we have wood. Wood, I'm going to pay 0 for the wood and take the wood, marking off the wood. Now I have 2 unique resources. The reason that's important is, remember that die over here that costs 2? You need 2 unique resources. You don't actually spend the resources. They aren't consumed. You don't lose them. But the more unique resources you have, the more flexibility you'll be able to have to buy things that cost 6 without paying any coins. There's lots of ways to get more coins. Everything in this game is a balance. We'll roll this again. We'll flip, and we have a brick over here. We have this one. These actually should not be in play yet. These 3 dice only enter play later. Right now we could take this chest over here. This chest, this is not a bad spot. That's not a great spot. We could do this one over here. That's going to be 4. We don't have 4. I could take stone. I think I'm going to pay a single coin and bump up my resources to getting 1 more stone. So now I have 3 unique resources. Generally in this game, I'm not telling you what you should do. Generally I go for 4 to 5 unique resources. Getting 6 I find is often not worth it. We'll go ahead and roll this again. And now we have these. So we have that owl over here. I could just take 7 coins, paying 2 coins to take 7. That's an easy enough one to do. I could start dealing with war, but I tend to like buying from the 0 and the 1, unless there's a strong, compelling reason not to. For example, this is actually not a bad reason to do this. Even though this costs 3, if you recall, I have an ability that allows me to pay 0 for that one. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to mark off this spot, which will give me 5 points. It's a 3 resources, but I have 3 unique resources. So I don't need to pay any coins for that, which is good, because honestly, I'm running out. But if I can get to that spot over there, that's going to give me a lot of flexibility. Do that. And then we got this over here. Again, it's not moving. So I'm going to take this one again. It's the same side. I will pay a coin over here, but you get to see now I am adding a black die to the box. Only I can select that die when it rolls. Slightly more vigorous roll over here. Over here, I can now take this die. This is actually a great face. This simply lets me mark off any one box on the board of any of the core primary colors. So I can try to figure out whether there's one specific thing that I want to get my hands on. I can check it off. Let me see. Let's go ahead, and I could work my way towards more technology, but honestly, I'm going to pause over here and show you how the rest of the fields work so you can just, so I don't have to play the whole thing out. Resources that you've seen already allow me to pay for the various costs of the spot without having to pay coins, which I'm slowly running out of. The marketplace over here is going to give you points as well as coins depending on which side you pick. So for example, this spot over here would give me 1 coin right now for each resource I have, so I'd get 3 coins, and at the end of the game, I would get 1 point for each resource I have, which means if I added more resources, I would get more points than the game. The marketplace is generally going to reward you with things like that as you try to fill up these various boxes. Blue, like I said already, is straight up points. Green is going to be various abilities as well as points. And then the red sides are going to involve looking at your neighbors. So for example, if I were to draft this die, paying whatever coin cost I need, and I marked off this spot over here, you have to work your way up. I already have resources, so I can fill that in. I would mark off in this box that I get 3 points. I would write it down, because even though it says 3 in very faint text, the reason it says it in faint text is because it is variable. You would look to your neighbor to this particular side, and you check out their shield levels, and you subtract 1 point for each shield level they have. Basically, shields are both going to give you points as the person who's marking off shields, but it's also going to make your neighbor it's going to ensure that your neighbor gains fewer points when they attack you. So building up your shields early on can be a great way to slow down the point gathering of your opponents. That's going to be the red fields over here. The purple field over here, you have to unlock with the purple die. This allows you to compare your totals against somebody else. So if we roll the purple die, for example, and it came up green over here, you'd be able to draft this die and fill these boxes left to right if you had as many or more green than both of your neighbors. You have to look at both of your neighbors, you'd have to have as much or more than both of them, and if you do, you can then fill in this box, moving left to right. The white die is going to unlock these boxes over here, and there's a few colors for each of these. So for example, if I selected this die, I simply mark off any 2 yellow spots on the board. So filling these up can be very, very powerful very quickly, and these ones allow you to get points for the various leaders you've already filled. At any point, you can choose to fill in your wonder. When you fill in your wonder, you pay again the resource cost, and you gain whatever abilities are on your wonder. And then lastly, game end is triggered by players filling in sections. Every time you complete an entire section, you will get one of these bonuses, which can cash in for either repeat a turn, marking off a box, or 7 coins, and the first person to fill off 3 of those boxes will trigger game end. That is how you play through a game of 7 Wonders Dice, which means it's time for my review of this game. I gave early thoughts on 7 Wonders Dice when I first had a chance to play it at Origins. My biggest concern at the time was that I was worried. I liked the game. I liked it when I first played it. My biggest concern is that it wouldn't be significantly different as you dove into it again and again, and unfortunately that concern has proven to be true. I like roll-and-write games. I love 7 Wonders. I love 7 Wonders Duel. I still have like both those games. Like I get rid of a lot of games. I can't keep everything, but I have a soft spot for 7 Wonders as one of the first games in my collection, and I think 7 Wonders Duel is an excellent game, and expansions really add to it. 7 Wonders Dice does deliver on an abstracted concept of what that game does, and it is fun and it is charming. The 2 main hangups I have, one of them I was already concerned about, and it's the fact that, again, the replayability, I just don't think there's a ton of replayability. Sure, there's different boards with different wonders, so you have some small degree of differences there, and then some small different ways things mix up on the board, the resources cost, the sciences, so there's some small changes board to board, but ultimately the experience is basically the exact same every single time you play it. I don't feel it's meaningfully different. It's a game that was very charming the first time I played it, and then it was slightly less charming the second time, and slightly less charming the third time. It's the exact same thing with no real variability to the experience outside of the strategy pathways you choose to pursue, and it's light enough that it makes it very accessible. It makes that first play very fun, but it's light enough that that depth really isn't there without something mixing up the experience. So overall, as far as what I like in the game, it's a good reminiscent experience from 7 Wonders. It is fun and fast to go ahead and roll these dice. Like rolling these dice, aside from the ridiculous noise it makes on camera, just doing doing that box over there and then grabbing a die, the game moves incredibly quickly. You can knock out a game. Genuinely, your first game is like a 20 to 25 minute game. Playing this again is like a 15-minute experience. It's an excellent filler game in terms of the amount of gameplay you get done in a very fast, quickly roll, select a die, quickly roll, select a die as you work your way towards these various pathways. And I do think it's good for a few games to try the various strategies. Do I want to go shields first, deny my opponent's points? By the way, that is a much better strategy in a 3-player game than in a 4 or 5-player game, because denying your opponent's points early on is very, very impactful, unless there's players across the table from you who are not being affected by that as much, and at which point you have to weigh up, is it as important to deny some but not everyone points as you play? So there's different strategies even at different player counts. So I do think there's some degree of fun repeated experiences have. The main caveat ultimately is that I do think it gets old quickly. That quick accessibility, it teaches in 5 minutes, it plays in 20 minutes, it's so easy to do everything, it just gets old quickly. That's the downside. The other thing that I really don't like, and when I first played this game at Origins, I played a prototype version of it that basically had pads of paper and pens, and I like that significantly more, because their choice of a kind of pencil that wipes off on these boards, this pencil does not write well on the board, and it does not wipe off well. And it does affect the experience. For a game this short, having to like harshly scribble out your thing in order for it to be visible on the table, and then having to take this little pad and wipe it off and really scrub at your board to get it all off, it's not a great use of the experience. It's going to factor into my rating, frankly, because I think component limitations do matter, and it does affect the game for me. So final thoughts-wise, I think 7 Wonders Dice is a charming, accessible game that if you like 7 Wonders, it is reminiscent of that experience, and it gives you fun times to be had, for sure. I liked it, I've had fun with it. If you're looking for a light, accessible roll-and-write game, it delivers. The main con I have is the variability as well as component limitations, which are enough that it will factor into my score. If not for the component limitations, I'd still give this a 3.5 out of 5. It is easy, it is fun, it's accessible, there's a lot of good things to be had. Just understand that it's the kind of game that if you're playing it on a repeated basis without like a gap of time, it'll get old quickly. Just know what you're getting yourself into, but it's also very accessible. The 7 Wonders Architects too. People who have played 7 Wonders Architects, this could be a great introduction to roll-and-write games. Again, know your limitations, so it would be a 3.5. I am giving it a 3 out of 5 though, because the component limitations do hold it back further for me. Again, having a roll-and-write game where the pens are terrible and hard to read and write on the board, and the erasers are just as bad, that is a core component and essential aspect of the game, and it needs better components. So overall score is going to be a 3 out of 5. As far as game recommendations, if you're looking for something, well, accessible and fun and charming, check out 7 Wonders. Not Architects. Architects is good, 7 Wonders is better. I think 7 Wonders is such a great gateway experience that still delivers excellent fun for me at a variety of player counts. And if you're looking for an excellent roll-and-write game that is highly accessible, has some nice fun chaining, a little more depth to it, check out Ganshun Clever. That's Pretty Clever, which is an excellent roll-and-write experience. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this video helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.